A quick question about what's on my Seder plate. So as we look at the Seder plate that we get ready to put on the Seder table, it's really central to everything that we're doing. First, we want to start and take a look around the Seder plate and get a sense of what's there and why it's there. Right at the top, at the 12 o'clock position, is the maror, the bitter herbs. It's usually horseradish, it's usually red traditionally, and it's usually really hot, and we need to eat it, but you don't want to really overload on it unless you really enjoy that very spicy feeling. It's the sense of bitterness. It's the sense of sudden shock to your system at how bitter life was in Egypt. As we continue going round clockwise, we're going to come to the next thing, which is the zroa, and that's the shank bone. And traditionally, it's the arm bone of the chicken, the leg bone. It's going to be roasted, and it's to commemorate, one of the things it commemorates is that God took the Israelites out of Egypt with an outstretched arm, with a mighty arm. And so it's symbolized, of course, physically with this arm. The other thing is that the zroa is roasted to represent one of the sacrifices, the roasted meat sacrifices that Jews used to bring to the temple when there was a temple standing in Jerusalem. When we continue down, we now have the Charoset. And the Charoset is a chopped mixture of apples and, in most cases, nuts. So please ask if you have a nut allergy. You must ask at the Seder if the Charoset contains nuts. There'll be wine. There'll be all kinds of different ingredients chopped and mixed together to have a sense of mortar. It's going to look a little bit reddish, a little bit brownish. It has varying recipes in different traditions, but basically it's to remind us of the mortar that the Israelites were using to build the bricks, the suffering, the horrible realities of slavery and enslavement and work and torture. As we continue round now, going at about the 7 or 8 o'clock position on your Seder plate, we have the Karpas. Karpas is a green vegetable that grows from the earth, so it can be parsley, as we have here. It can be celery, anything that grows from the earth. And really what we're going to do with the Karpas is you take Karpas and dip it into salt water. And it represents the tears that were cried in Egypt. The Karpas is representative of nature, of earth, and bringing the two together very much as a statement of then eating it and reminding ourselves of the salt of tears, and that that's not the natural way. That's not the way things should be. We continue up, and the last thing on the Seder plate is the roasted egg. And that's there for a number of reasons. First of all, it's a symbol of spring, because this is also the festival of spring coming. But also the fact that it's roasted speaks to the roasted sacrifices that were brought to the temple, just as the shank bone did. What I like about what the Seder plate tells us is when we look at it from an organizational point of view and we say, you know, if I could line up all my Egypt stuff on one side, I'd get all the mortar and the bitter tears and the bitter stuff, all the crying, all the tears, all the bricklaying, all the work. Let's put it on one side. Then let's put our redemptive images on the other side. Let's have the roasted hand and the egg, spring, rebirth, and let's organize it a little better so I've got all the suffering on one side and all the redemptive stuff on the other side. But we don't. We mix them together. And I really like that message, because when we look at the Seder plate, what we're seeing is the reality of life. We see that there is suffering, and interspersed in the suffering are these redemptive moments that we can grab. But we can't for imagine think that, oh, that's it, no more suffering, we're all done. Because we know it's life, and we know that we're going to head back into other challenges and other moments. But what is there to look forward to as we move around the Seder plate? Oh, another redemptive symbol, another moment we can grab, another hopeful symbol that tells us it isn't all about the suffering. It is really about moving from suffering to redemption, and then life hits again, and we grab those redemptive moments. That's what we see globally when we look at the Seder plate. And when we get in, we start to notice all the details of what it is that history is teaching us about both suffering and, of course, about redemption.